What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this extra episode of D&D&Chill. I don't even have the chill. I don't even have the lo-fi playing in the background. But as you can see, this is a special episode because across from the tavern, sitting over in one of the empty chairs that has been vacant for too long, is our good friend Ryan Doyle of the Verdigris table. Ryan, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself to the folks that maybe are over here and maybe have not seen your stuff but have heard me talk about it.
Good to be here in the corner at the table. I'm all about the table. My name is Ryan Doyle. I run a little YouTube channel called the Verdigris Table, where you may have seen me help newer dungeon masters run Lost Mine of Phandelver. Is like the biggest numbers thing that I've done. A lot of like beginner, get brave, run D&D content on the channel. Lately we've been getting a little more advanced, branched out into like Pathfinder, some other new systems. Yeah, and I got a Kickstarter going on for another like 2 days and 2 hours or something.
That's like 2 days. It's
Yeah,
insane that it's
home
already
stretch.
coming to the end.
It was a fast month. It was a
It
fast.
was.
October went real quick for me.
Oh,
I've been
man.
very busy over here.
Ryan is louder than Lucas. Ryan should be louder than Lucas.
I'm gonna turn. How much I can turn down?
No, you're fine. You're fine. I can adjust you on my side. You are perfectly fine. Put you right there.
Ryan projects when he gets excited,
That's
and I'm
it.
excited to be here.
Funny enough, I every time that I ever watch one of your videos or I catch one of your live streams, I always look at your microphone because we actually have the same microphone, but you have the RGB version, and I'm always like, man, like I want that because I want to be able to change the colors, but I know that I wouldn't have it anything other than red. Just like
Perfect.
that would
Yeah.
be it. So
I didn't get this because it was the colorful one. I got it because it was in stock.
yeah.
But yeah, it took me a very long time to figure out how to make it like verdigris. So
Oh yeah.
for those of you who don't know, and there's many of you, verdigris is what happens to copper. Think of the Statue of Liberty, and it's also a color. So it's one thing that I know that is chromatic and metallic at the same time.
That was
So
actually something
for your D&D nerds.
I remember when I first like started watching your videos. I was in the mindset of like, what does verdigris mean? And like I knew that like verde would be green, and I was like, is this like green and gray? And I don't know, I just like, because I think Greece, if I'm not mistaken, and Hannah's actually in the chat, I think verde and Greece would be two Spanish colors.
Yeah, and a
So
lot of people get, and it's from French, and I don't know how archaic the French is, but it's the green of Greece. So
okay.
according to the French, the Greeks figured out how to make this like cool pigment. So I used to run a paint store. I'm a paint nerd, so we can talk about colors all day too if you want.
Damn.
But the French credited the Greeks for figuring out how to make copper oxide. Chemistry is not my strong suit.
Interesting.
But yeah, and then the British went through a phase of loving everything that was French. So that's how we get the term. And it's like, I think a lot of people, if you do know what verdigris is and you're in the D&D sphere, it's because you have bought verdigris like model paint. Like my buddy Mike hooked this up.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, Uniel did that one. I keep saying that. I got to give Uniel credit for that one. Mike did the other one.
All right. So yeah, to those of you that have seen the updates over on the Discords, we're going to be talking about the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation, or as I do have a folder on my computer labeled this, and I have like in my own mind, and I know Ryan has said this himself, GMCXC, just because it's one of those things of like PHB, DMG. So I've gotten into that habit, but we are going to talk a little bit about how we can take something like a pre-existing campaign, something like Lost Mines of Phandelver, for example, and work these backgrounds into it in order to expand upon what is already in the adventure and how to make it something that is more PC story, or like a more PC driven narrative, which, funny enough, and I know there's gonna be plenty of tangents.
I'm good at those.
45 minutes ago, I was laying on my bed and I was thinking about like getting ready for this stream, and my wife makes a comment about an Amazon order, and I looked at my phone and I saw that I had a book delivered at my store. So I made a point of driving out to my store as fast as I could, because what I had delivered is in the Game Master's Handbook series. It is the proactive role-playing guidelines and strategies for running PC-driven narratives in 5e adventures. If you are at all familiar with the books by Jeff Ashworth, he has, I have one of them right here. I keep at my ready. This is the Game Master's Book of Traps, Puzzles, and Dungeons. I have the other 4 books over on my shelf, and there's another one coming out about NPCs soon enough. But this is like a small little handbook, and I just thought it was so fitting that it be delivered today, when this is what we're talking about PC-driven narratives in campaigns. So this is going to be my reading material for the next couple days.
Awesome, I have to check that out. I have his the random encounters one.
Yeah, is that the blue one? Or no, that's the brown one. Yeah,
it's like brown. Yeah, I don't know. It's behind me somewhere, but I need to organize these shelves again.
I love those books. I keep them with me all the time whenever I'm at the library when I'm running my games there.
Yeah, it's good to have tools. I mean, that's why I'm building this thing for all of us, but I'm building it for me. This is the kind of stuff I like to have at the table.
That's it. That's the exact same thing, where it's like I love making, my specialty, and the thing that I love doing is building subclasses more than anything else. And I'm constantly of the mindset of like, well, I would like this. I'm sure someone else would too. So it's like, I'm gonna make it for myself, and then we'll go from there. All right, yeah. So let's get these windows up on screen and make sure that we're not covering you up there. There we go. How are we gonna do this?
You can stick me in the balcony. You can put me in the cheap seats.
You know what? I thought about that. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna use plane. Yeah, we're gonna use plane shift. We're gonna move you up a bit. Let me see where we at.
Levitate.
That's right. Go. Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Right up past Cooper. All right. So yeah, we'll have these down here. So how do we want to go about this first? Do we want to make some characters? Do we want to kind of figure out where our space is going to be needed in the adventure? Because I think this could go any which way.
That's the idea. I didn't want to make something where here's like Ryan's way to do things. Here's like the one way to do things. I tried to make a toolbox. Like there's a bunch of different ways to approach this from the player side, from the game master side. I think we should make at least one character, because I have really enjoyed watching you make characters on this show.
It is so fun.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting, because like I sat in a room for like weeks and weeks, like cooking all of this up. This which you can get this for free, by the way. Actually, we're using the super duper version, which is on my Patreon. But we have 7 archetypes on the Kickstarter right now. Big chunky PDF that explains a lot of what's going on in this as well, which you can download for free even without backing me. So check that out. But yeah, watching people like you pick it up and like bring all of your own like ideas and inspiration and influence to it, it's been very, very gratifying. It's very cool to watch
Well then.
watch it work, basically, because like I wasn't trying to say, hey, here's an awesome character idea. I'm like, here's a bunch of like seeds of ideas
Yeah.
that'll make sparks, and to see that happen in real time was very cool on your streams.
Yeah, then if that's the case, so I will say, in my time playing with this, I did not make this character on stream. This is a character that I made on my own. Oh, that's a big screen right there. This is a character that I actually made on my own as I was making the guide. So I sat down, I made an archivist, and you know, so I've played around with the archivist a bit, but I haven't really touched on the artisan or the artist. And I have made an artist character in the past. For those in the stream that might remember, we had a small little frog folk. If I can find the page, I think their name was Parf Dendro. Yes, Parf Dendro was a grung battlemaster fighter, and his whole thing was about touching you with his toxins. And using daggers and darts. So he was an artist because his whole thing was it was actually, you know what? Sorry, wrong grung. It was a grung monk way of the drunken master. That was it, because Hannah named that one, and it was Raina Ribbit. And she was an artist and used her own toxins and found stuff throughout the world to create her own oils and paints and colors. And she combined it with the toxins. So I'm very up for making. I'm thinking an artisan. I'm thinking a crafter. So
Well, I'll tell you what I haven't done on a stream. I don't know if you have. I've been catching up. We got to talk about Smarties too. I was watching last night's. It's your favorite candy?
I got a whole bag of them behind me.
That's your favorite candy? I mean, I don't mean to come into your house and cast stones, but
it's definitely not my favorite candy. My favorite candy, hands down, if we're going chocolate, is
chocolate's its own category. You got you got to separate them out, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it would be Take Fives. But like, there is something about Smarties, because it's like that joke about eating rice. Of what if you're hungry and you want to eat 1,000 of something? You know? So it's like I can take a whole thing of Smarties, and it's like, oh, I've just eaten a bunch of things and I feel full. So that's
we're looking for different things in candy, my man. But I agree with you. Smarties are the rice of candy.
Yes.
So if that's what you're shooting,
they're only used as a base for something else. So yeah, which one haven't you worked with?
Well. So I mean, I've thought a lot about all of these, but but I think it might be. I think adapting to one. I had this like very like Technicolor image of like a poison dart fog grung, like very like brightly colored. Give me the name again. What was this? What was the second name? Raina Ribbits. So like we haven't live like stress tested like adapting it to like an existing character, and I think we might end up choosing things more than letting the dice dictate. But like speed run, let's do those first 3 on the artist to see what would like, because I think a lot of this has been shown for like character creation, which is like, you know, ideal because you're starting from 0. But like if you're in the middle of a campaign right now, you've been playing a character, you've gotten to know them for a while, maybe you're looking for ways to like, okay, I've thought really hard about their abilities and their spell selection, but now I want to like lean more into the story side.
Yeah, totally. That's 100%. Yeah, because I don't know if we went to heavy into Reyna's like anything.
Mm.
So adding it, and obviously, other than her being from some village out there, creating her own inks and finding her own colors out there in the world, I think this is a really good idea to have, like you said, take a pre-existing character and kind of give them more motivations.
Yeah, and that's cool. It's also like I really like that character concept. So yeah,
yeah.
let's mess around with that for a little bit.
All right. So drives, dreams, and aspirations. I'm looking at this list, and my eyes were almost instantly drawn to number 13. Collect unusual and rare materials for their art. Because
Perfect.
being that she is out there wanting to build or like make her own inks and colors, you're gonna need those rare materials. Let me see what else we got here. Complete a cycle, explore the world to better portray it. That is always a good thing. Beautify the world by destroying evil. Draw inspiration from new. Art's highest calling is to confront oppression. Desire to have constant unique experiences. Okay, so yeah, I'm thinking that collecting this is gonna be the main thing, but I definitely want Reyna to have something that might be more outwardly.
And there's nothing wrong with like multiple trips to the well, especially with like an established character. Maybe you have one of these to start, and then you're like, well, I've got all of these inks now, right? Like, what else? Help my friends and like save the world eventually becomes the only reason you need in a D&D campaign. But like, yeah, having a secondary like art is transformative. So is violence. I don't know what kind of tone we were doing with that, Grung, but
well, that's the thing.
We could get weird with it.
Arguably, she is a way of the drunken master, so she is fighting. So maybe she, maybe that is more of like an indicative thing to her, where it's more of an ingrained thing of as part of her having to go out and adventure and finding these small things to add into her collection. She is having to fight, and that violence does allow her to experience the world in different ways. So yeah, I think those two are great.
Yeah, and that rare materials is very gameable, right? Like, you get violence, and then it's over, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna make a medicine check to try to take whatever the ink sac out of this octopus-faced monster that I just killed, or whatever the case may be.
One of my friends that plays in both of my campaigns, he is huge into survival checks for harvesting stuff, and I actually built him a feat called, it's like primal requisition or primal acquisition, where if he kills something and does a ritual for a time, he can absorb some of those aspects of that creature. So he's constantly on the lookout for stuff that he can like get his hands on, and different things that can maybe give him some extra powers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Give him a reason.
Yeah. All right. So catalyst calls to action and lore drops. Decides their life should be the work of art. A wealthy and powerful patron ropes them in. Tasked to capture a legendary location. A work creates an unexpected controversy. The spirit of an ancient artist reaches out. A promising young... What is that word?
Ingenue. That's a word you probably have never seen written down. That's like
once.
Yeah, I had to look that one up. I was like, I know, is that the thing? Yeah, is that the word? I've heard that.
An innocent or unsophisticated young woman. Okay.
And it's like there's so many. It's like film noir tropey of like someone walks in, it's like teach me to paint, and then it's like
exactly
she was the murderer all along, or whatever it was.
the best outcomes, where it's always the first thing you think of, but it just takes you 70 other different ways, makes you second guess yourself.
Yeah, write down this. Think fast and write it down.
Exactly. A famous piece contains hidden secrets. Spirits of creation send visionary I'm already liking that one. Yeah, good.
Is there a hallucinogenic vibe to this trippy toad creature who's poisoning people? Like, was that in the mix?
Poison can do a lot of things.
It's in the dosage, right? Medicine's in the dosage.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with, like, you know, mechanically dropping in a feat on this character that could be something where you take magic initiate and you give them some enchantment magic, and it's spraying somebody with some toxin and it makes them hallucinate and they are, you know, enraptured by you. That to me, also the fact that it's spirits of creations, spirits being that it could be visages of creatures beyond the realm, but it could also be because she is a way of the drunk monk. So spirits there could be the drinks that she is drinking, mixing with the toxins of her own secretions, giving her visions of grandeur and callings out to adventure.
She's just huffing paint thinner.
She's huffing her own fumes. I really think that's gonna be it. I think Spirits of Creation is she's having some kind of envisionment, and what she is setting out there for is going to be to have these wild colors that have come to her mind that she can't vocalize, that she can't express in any other way than going out, finding these materials to create these colors. I think that in itself is going to be it.
That's cool, man. The whole a shaman cast like hypnotic pattern on her as a child, and like for the rest of her life she's pursuing this like vision.
Oh my god, that's amazing. That's awesome. I love that. Oh yeah, no, that has to be it. That has to be it. Like, that has to be like what set them off is, you know, she's out there with her parents, they're walking through the forest, you know, going to gather supplies or whatever, whether it's against them or they just become victims of crossfire, having
just a murder hobo farming XP.
Yeah, and it's like all of a sudden hypnotic pattern is just draped over them, and Reyna sees these vivid colors that just, you know, capture her, and it becomes an obsession, and that's when she gets into art.
She's chasing that dragon.
That's it. All right, I'm putting that in the notes down here. Yeah, I gotta put her name down because it's spelled in a weird way. I remember that much. Because you always got to have apostrophes in fantasy names. Like those folks who see things when certain words. Yeah, synesthesia. Yeah,
I love that shit.
Very much the same thing where your mind assigns certain visual cues to sounds or smells, different kind of sensory, you know, faculties. It's like that's how you get people that are have like perfect pitch, or you know, or like the learned relative pitch. Right, Reyna Ribbit was influenced by a rogue hypnotic pattern.
I mean, if we want to go dark with it too, she like comes out of the she's stunned or whatever.
Oh, she comes out of her parents' bed.
Everybody's gone. You know, classic edgy backstory.
That's it. Yeah, it's yeah. She wakes up. She's like, everything is great. It's awesome. And you know, like the Lego movie's playing in her head, and she comes out, and it's just massacred around her. And she only escaped it because in her catatonic state, she appeared dead in the pile of her of her now dead family and troop.
How long was that? That was like 15 minutes to get real dark with it.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I'm all for this. I'm all for this. Let's put here maybe dark, maybe maybe only survivor.
Black's a color.
Oh yes, it is. Yes, it is. Black is. I mean, arguably, black is the culmination of all colors. So when you bring everything together, it gets real dark sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So character arc: starving artist to rich and famous, creatively blocked to feeling the flow state. That's sick. Focus only on product to enjoy process. Oh, okay. Focus only on product to enjoying the process. Got it. Evolution in artistic style mirroring growth. Healing trauma by turning it into art. There we go.
That feels like the fit.
That's it. It's just to double check. Self-centered to making societal impact, aspirational to masterful to transcendent, student craft to aspire. Yeah, no. Healing trauma by turning into art. Yeah, we're definitely going. Was influenced by a rogue hypnotic pattern. Actually, it's not even a rogue. Yeah, we're gonna let's just put this down here for what it is. When she was out with a gathering party, they were attacked by a band of murder hobos who used hypnotic pattern. Them. Reyna was incapacitated.
Because like canonically, I mean, I know it doesn't matter at your table, but canonically, Grung are neutral? Grung are evil?
I actually don't know. Let me see the bestiary on that.
Yeah.
They are any alignment, actually.
Okay, cool.
So there we go. Yeah, I mean, like CR 1/4, really like just kind of the swamp, like the swamp rats. You know, oh, it's like, hey, there's an infestation of grung. Head over there, clear it out. You know, they're causing all kinds of noise over there. You got these adventurers that are just like, yeah, we'll do that, and somehow you got that foolhardy wizard that's out there wanting to try out their new 3rd level spell, because fireball might be a little too grand for this, but they're an illusionist. They just got hypnotic pattern, and all of a sudden you're out there, you're picking reeds with your family, and next thing you know you're having you're an
adventurer now.
Yeah, a Technicolor dreamscape, and then you come back and your whole family's dead. Brain was incapacitated, had a vivid dream experience.
And there's something about like walking in with a character and like, I'm gonna be the edgiest, like bad, like comically weird character version of that. Mm-hmm. When I start, and I'm going to take every opportunity to evolve this character into Bob Ross, and like it's the opposite of Breaking Bad, right?
Yes. Like, that's awesome. Oh my god, that needs to be
Wonderland vibes too, for sure.
Oh man, Bob Ross needs to be like something within here. Horrible things seem to happen there sometimes. Yeah, that's it. It's, you know, shit happens. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think that's it right there. Like, we can go further with this, and because I think I mainly want to focus on like the first page of stuff, because I feel like we can maybe pick and choose what we want a little bit here and there on the second page. But I think we're gonna should mostly really focus in on how to apply this to a pre-existing campaign, because we can always draw that inspiration. So I'm thinking friendly factions. We have Dreamweavers, traveling, rotating exhibition mixing multiple medias with illusory magic. The writing on the wall, secretive affiliation, installing works by night that question authority. Family of Light and Color, guild of painters that spread to other arts, throws great parties. And the Cosmic Choir. Some believe they are interpreting and influencing music of the spheres. Interesting.
If we're not rolling, if we're choosing, I'm going to say Family of Light and Color.
Yeah.
Because they throw great parties and we're a drunken master here.
Exactly. Nah, I was thinking the same thing. This is gonna be somebody that they've met through a number of their nights out in the towns. It's these. I can imagine this might be who she got her monk fighting style from. Is these great partiers. They are a guild of painters, but it's like, hey, we're gonna we throw these great ragers, and it's like they have somebody in there that's tavern brawls happen, so you got to learn to fend yourself,
because you get immunity to poison at higher levels at monk, right? Like it's like soundness of mind and body or something, right? Isn't there like if you're a badass enough monk, you can drink as much as you want and never be affected?
Grung, you are already immune to poison.
Oh, because you are poison.
Yeah. You have poisonous skin. So if anybody, it's any creature that grapples you or comes in direct contact with your skin makes a con save, or they're poisoned for a minute.
I'm gonna roll up a grung now, man. This has been very inspiring.
I'll tell you what, a grung with the grappler feat and the poisoner feat, to be able to apply your own poison to weapons, because your own poison puts down a DC 12 con save, and if you fail that, you're poisoned. And if you put that on your weapon, you can also deal 2d4 poison damage. But if you're playing somebody who's mostly grappling, you're just poisoning enemies with your touch.
And that is like the edgiest thing of like you lick the knife or like you lick your dagger before you throw it at somebody.
Hell yeah.
Like, yeah.
The only caveat to playing a grung, and this is actually one of the reasons why I feel a lot of people don't, is because if you fail to immerse yourself in water for at least 1 hour during a day, you suffer a level of exhaustion at the end of that day. So for that aspect, you should probably just keep like a good water skin with you, and get some kind of weird rubber jacket you can on a short rest, just like sit there, have it flowing through you. I think
Can we take a short rest? It's bath time.
Yeah. it's like are we near a stream? Do I hear a babbling brook anywhere?
Yeah, it's a decanter of endless water.
Yeah,
or like create destroy water, just like, all right, give me a minute, pop.
Oh yeah, that would actually be perfect. Create and destroy water. If you're going with the whole illusion, or not illusionist thing, but if you're going with the magic initiate feat as well, you could grab create and destroy water and just like, hey, give me a couple minutes. You just sit there and roll around in the mud for a little bit. Solid hour. All right. So assets and allies. Cedric Von Clare, flamboyant collector who loves juicy rumors even more than he loves art. Elatine Thornfield, a kind, noble, and bad poet who supports artists with her social connections. Eliza,
fantasy name. Take it as you will.
There's a Y in there. It's fantasy.
Elysia.
Enchanting and mercurial fey spirit who is a retired muse but still has her magic. I like that. Professor Henrietta Daly, an art historian with extensive knowledge on many subjects. Brunt Gunderson, I just love that name. Prolific sculptor with a background in architecture, mining, and quarries. And Rodrigo Martez, retired adventurer who paints landscapes, drinks tea, and tells story. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, like, retired adventurer who paints, drinks, teas, and tells story. Rodrigo Martez is our Bob Ross.
These are Bob Ross.
This is our Bob Ross, and I think this is the guy who taught Reyna the ways of like a monastic life. Who he was out there.
I see you, Stacy. Stacy said the same thing that you said at the same time.
Yep, that's it. Like,
oh my goodness.
He's out there. He's lived this life. He's done the adventures, and now he can be found sitting on, like, I'm imagining walking up to a kind of like cliffside where there's trees on either side, and you just see like the flick of a flame from a campfire, and there's a man sitting there, and he's leaning back in a chair, and he has this little art station next to him, and he's staring out over the mountains. And like, when you walk up, he takes a sip of his tea, and he's like, come sit down, like, let's tell a story together. And just his painting, I can imagine his paintings literally like dancing off of the page. Rodrigo Martez, 100%. That is our guy. Right.
So we were talking about trying to like connect, like use these features to like connect to Phandalin. So like, there is a fairly important and like fairly underdeveloped retired adventurer in Phandalin who like gives you a quest. What's his name? Darren Edermath? I always confuse him and the mayor. Yeah, Darren Edermath is now a drow, which is an interesting. They made him a drow and and say nothing about it. Like I don't really know why, other than maybe showing that like not all drows are the Black Spider, I guess.
Interesting.
But I would just cut and paste our Bob Ross feature into his role.
Where was he? Because I actually don't remember.
Well, he's there to send you to not Hightor, that's a hiking trail, to where the orcs are in the original adventure, in like
to Cragmaw Castle.
No, not even to the orcs, not the goblins. So like I think a lot of DMs actually like almost instinctually like cut it out, because it's like, okay, there's also orcs here and you can fight them. And in the original they don't give you a map, and it's like, you're a dungeon master now, make a map. But in the new one they give you a map for it. Wyvern Tor.
Oh, Wyvern Tor. Okay.
He's the one that sends you that away, and then he maybe brings you into the Order of the Gauntlet, but like there's no support for any of that, so that also falls by the wayside. But he's like one of those like chapter 3 quest giver NPCs, and he's boring, he's forgettable. So you make that guy Bob Ross, and now everybody loves him. They want to talk to him all the time.
Hell yeah, that's exactly it. See, and the funny thing is I've ran Lost Mines of Phandelver twice. I've ran it in different portions, and the funny thing is that I have never run. Other than Cragmaw Castle, I've actually never run the full Spiderweb chapter, like section. So like the Tribor Trail, Agatha's Lair, Old Owlwell, Thunder Tree, and Wyvern Tor. I haven't done any of those. Oh, trust me, Hannah, we might have some spoilers here. We'll try and keep them tame. I know you.
Oh, we keep it to early chapters. We'll keep it to early chapters. What's their cutoff? So I think a lot of people had that same experience, because it was like introduction to Sandbox, but it like they didn't. I don't think they did a great job. No. Which is why I made videos about it, and they're very popular, because a lot of people are like, "How do I do this?"
Yeah. And that's honestly one of the big things that whenever they introduced Stormwreck Isle, or not Stormwreck Isle, I'm sorry, when they introduced Dragon of Icespire Peak, Dragon of Icespire Peak is an adventure I can run time and time again, because how it's designed is almost the complete opposite of Lost Mines of Phandelver, because it's the opening of Dragon of Icespire Peak is there's a dragon attacking Phandalin, and they need adventurers, but why are you there? Like, do you want to kill the dragon? Are you there to hunt it? Do you have other things? You know, and then once you get there, it's like, hey, there's some stuff going on, and we need you guys to go and handle these. Here's 3 quests. And your players are the ones that say, okay, this is the route we want to go. And I like that more as a more experienced DM. But when I started out as a DM, I loved Lost Mine because it was like, hey, they're going to start in Neverwinter and they're going to be on the road when they get ambushed by the goblins. And then there's Kragmaw Hideout. And I just looked it up. Darren is literally the 3rd person listed on important NPCs on that list. And I was like, how did I not know this name? And then I realized it was because I wasn't spelling it right in my own head.
Well, that's the other thing you change. I always like have to look like sisters. I remember Sister G the best because I started calling her Sister Garielle or whatever. But like I called her Sister G because I didn't want to pronounce that, and that was 9 years ago, and I remember it to this day. So it's like, but yeah, it's they shoved a sandbox in the middle of a railroad's a dirty word in a linear progression. They're like, hey, save your friend. Chase him down, here's some leads, and then they're like, but we're gonna put that on pause because you need to level up, so go do some other stuff while he's under. Like it sucks the tension out. You can do one or the other, but not both, I think.
Yep. Yeah, because when I ran it initially, the first time I ran it, the players got to Phandalin. They went to deal with the ruffians and got TPK'd in the basement. And you know, it's as a more experienced DM, it's like, oh, that monster should not be down there, and I should not have presented it in the way that I did, because I presented it as a you can do this thing. The second time I ran it, I actually went straight from like Kragmaw Hideout to the castle, then to the mine. And it was like, you know, straightforward, more linear. It was a super short adventure. But yeah, it's fun. But I run the Goblin Ambush as introductory adventures for people who have never played D&D before. Like you present it in a slightly different way. Instead of having instead of it just being like the 2 horses, have it be a carriage, have your players delivering a package from Neverwinter to Phandalin, and the logo that is on the package is the same one on the cart, and present the goblins as willing to parlay. And you can then run a little introductory that has, you know, role playing, that has combat, that has intrigue, because then you have to look around and, oh, these symbols match. And that's just why I love Lost Mines. Darren is 100% getting replaced with Rodrigo Martez, because I'm looking at the rumors, and Elsa even says Darren Ettermath, the Orchard Keeper, is a former adventurer. So I mean, come on, that's so perfect.
And there's a lot of potential there, but it's like unrealized. I think for an adventure that's supposed to hold your hands, they don't really help you make interesting NPCs.
Yeah.
And I think so. Okay, I'm going to keep it spoiler free for y'all. But whether you're going to transition into the homebrew stuff or Dragon of Icespire Peak stuff or Shattered Obelisk stuff or whatever, translating these skills into a different adventure, a different world that you're making, having the players care about a place and the people within it gives a game master a ton of opportunities to start the story, hit the gas, drive the action. And there's several adventures where if the players don't really care, then it kind of falls flat a little bit when the town is under threat. If there's a white dragon circling and they're like, well, I don't even like these guys, the mayor's a jerk, I don't know anybody else here, we're out. I'm going back to Neverwinter, like, we're out. Then it's like, oh, okay, I guess I gotta prep a whole new adventure now because nobody cares about this. So like, you replace an NPC with a Bob Ross and then you build in a connection to a player character out of the gate. You can tell this person, like, pre-game, above the table, session 0, like, oh yeah, you're here because you know this person. You're buds. You go way back. This is the only
Exactly.
person that showed you kindness before you could like handle yourself as a monk,
And
and now it's built in.
yeah, and I mean, honestly, even just looking at this list here for the artist of Brunt Gunderson, a sculptor with a background in architecture, mining, and quarries. That, I mean, Gunderson itself already sounds like, you know,
Real Gundren vibes.
yeah, Gundren Rockseeker, or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, this could, you know, you just change the last name, Brunt Rockseeker. This could be one of the cousins of the Rockseekers who is wanting to find the mine, and maybe they show up like partway through, and this is somebody else in someone else's backstory where they've come here in order to build up the mine and really make it spectacular. But even Professor Henrietta Daly, and I'm also even thinking in regards to Phandalin, but the Lost, or the Dragonvice Spire Peak, there's a character in that, and I actually don't know if she's in Lost Mines. Let me double check. She is. Halia Thornton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I could 100% see her with her membership into her faction being somebody who might be interested in art history and have extensive knowledge about stuff. And, you know, you can just apply this to her and have this be somebody that's kind of more on the DL in there, where she's there working at the miners exchange, because what if something happens to be found? What if it's an artifact? She would have that connection right then and there. So, I mean, even just on this own list, you can already replace 3 of these characters or expand upon the characters that are in this.
Yeah, so you could just like staple that onto an existing character too,
Yeah.
right? Like you just talking about your vision for Halia there felt like a real like one of those like Indiana Jones like
Yep.
love interest slash enemy gray area
Oh my
that's like
God, yeah.
is in every I mean I haven't seen the latest one. I heard it wasn't great.
That
But
would be
there's always some like nebulous like I'm just in it for the treasures and the cultural artifacts, but like yeah, I'm also a Nazi, you know?
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, if you know about Halia, there is that aspect.
There's yeah, and
Food.
she gets it seems like she gets a lot of play at a lot of tables. I think people intuitively understand like the secretly evil one is the one they like kind of
Yeah. You know what?
latch on.
I have watched other live plays and sessions of Phandalin adjacent adventures, and Halia gets so much more play in those than I have ever given her in mine. And not even because I don't really include her, but in a lot of times because when my players end up going to Phandalin for one reason or another, there's not a lot of reasons. They're like, let's go to the miners exchange. And it's in the library campaign I'm running. I gave them a reason for that, because in Lost Mines, you have to escort the new mine owner, Don John Raskin, to the mine. And
That's the one. I think that's the best, potentially the best NPC in the mix.
I love him. I love him to
Yeah.
death, and I
Yeah.
love voicing. I love voicing him because I give him. I try and give him. Oh no, it's not. It wouldn't be.
I knew Yosemite Sam was coming out of your mouth. I knew I was.
I try and give him more of like an Australian kind of accent, and but he's constantly muttering to himself. He's constantly in this like state of like, yeah, well, you go down there, you know, we did all kinds of crazy adventures, you know, out there killing orcs and whatnot. And then I saw this giant dragon that came out, and I absolutely love playing him because you get to have all these fantasies in his head. And in my library campaign, the players did not resolve the issue at the mine. And so they did rescue the dwarves, but the rat folk are still there. And so they had to send Don John back with the dwarves. So when the party got there, they're like, hey, where's Don John? And they're like, oh, he's down at the miners exchange. And so they got to talk with him and the other dwarves, and they got to talk with Halia. And the paladin of the, she was very kind of annoyed and standoffish because the mine is not in their possession. And the paladin went up and, like, without saying anything, put his hand on her shoulder to, like, try and reassure her. And I was like, she's gonna, like, roll him over herself in some kind of, like, crazy karate move. And the gnome rogue in the party fell in love with her and was like, I want to learn how to do that. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And we ran a small little thing where Halia trained her in some roguish abilities, and she got access to one of the new UA features. And I was like, you know what? I love this design that, you know, I love actually getting to use this character now, because it was the first time that I ever got to use that particular NPC.
And that's golden. That's good GMing right there, because it's I think a lot of people start like, I'm going to be this like master, like puppeteer, and like I'm a storyteller. I have all these grand narratives that I'm going to sculpt. It's like, no, it's a very responsive thing. It's like, okay, I have a million ideas. Here's me making millions more. And like, I want a ton of ideas so that there's always something when a player kicks over the rock.
Yes.
And like how you treat, right? Halia flips over the monk, right? Or I'm sorry, flips over the paladin, and someone's like, that's cool, I want to learn from you. But at another table, someone pulls out the sword. It's like, okay, Halia, I didn't know this until you did that, but now she has an assassin stat block, you know, or what, you know, like you respond to what the players are bringing to the table too, even if they don't know it.
Yep. Yeah, I've said it for years, you know, it is being a DM is you're presenting doors to your players, and you might present them with door 1, 2, and 3, but you have to be prepared for them to climb out the window or to blow a hole in the wall between the doors.
We don't need no stinking doors.
Yeah, like let's dive through that window, you know, and let's chase down this guy. And that's the kind of stuff that I love, because it's in those moments where you kind of scrap everything that you had, or you just, you know, you put it aside and you let it show up later. And it's like, cool, now it's just call and response. You tell me what you're doing and I'm just gonna have fun with you. And honestly, that is some of my favorite times when I've DM'd, is just when everything goes awry and now you can play into it.
That's kind of why I mean, this is prep focus what we're doing here, but like you could pull this thing out if somebody zigs when you thought they would zag, and you're like, what's happening over here? It's like, oh cool, you met Bob Ross. You know, that'll buy me an hour. Right? But like I love building a world, and then that world does stuff because the dice said so.
Yes.
And still surprises me. That makes me feel like I am also playing a game, not just like being a referee. Like I'm watching things happen and interact. Like once we've already like we're on number 4 or 5, and like already like Bob Ross isn't at the party, and what does Bob Ross feel about the family of light and color, right? Like he's got an opinion about that. These things start to like rub together and make sparks. It's I like that.
All right, so I'm looking at magic items, and
roll dice for this one. You gotta roll with this one.
There are so many that are standing out. All right, I'm gonna go to your, because I know you have a dice roller on your Discord channel.
Ooh, I do.
Where is that? Yeah, there he is. So we're gonna roll. I want to roll 2 of these. I want to roll 2.
I'll give you advantage. Roll 2d10.
Yeah, there we go. Let's roll 2d10. We got a 12. Wait, why did I roll? Oh, we got a 10.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. What did you got a 10 and a 2? Or?
We got a 10. We got Enchanted Craft, glaze that can animate piece of art for 1 hour. That is sick.
That's what is it? Summon construct, or what is
Yeah. I mean, that animate object.
Animate object.
That is, and that also works if we're going into that whole thing of this was built from illusion. You know, that is exactly what she's, if it's fully animated, or even if it's like illusory, just being able to animate something, that is so cool. That's such an awesome idea of like, this could be used to animate anything, arguably, because the mechanics, the beautiful thing about this, thank you Sir Carpenter for the follow. It is awesome that this could be used on really anything.
I just had a vision of like, there's like a portrait on the wall in like whatever, the mayor's house, and you just slap, animate is also like imbue with like a spirit to a degree too, right? Like animate undead. So like you slap this on there, you run out, and the painting is like spying for you for this like hour.
Oh, that's sick. See, I was thinking, and now you have my mind going specifically for my library group, because my mind was thinking of something along the lines of like, oh, if there's a little adventurer on this map, if this is a drawing of like a paladin fighting a dragon, and you glaze over that paladin, they can like pop off of the painting, and now you have this little construct moving around. But what you said makes me think more like Harry Potter. That is where you can paint the whole thing, and now whatever's going on in there becomes animate. And so, like with what you said, you could have them spy on you, but you could also maybe garner information from them, because in my library campaign, Harbin Wester, which everyone knows Harbin Wester, the town master of Phandalin, in my campaign is voiced to sound like King Kai from Dragon Ball Z. But in the Phandalin 5 campaign, unfortunately, Harbin Wester has passed on, because he heroically sacrificed himself to save the town from fully being destroyed by the Black Dragon cult. And the way that he did that was that he took all of these cultists into his house because they were looking for this Black Dragon egg, and he had a liquor cabinet, and he blew the whole place up. And then the White Dragon shows up and freezes the entire thing into solid block of ice. So he sacrificed himself so that everyone else could escape down to Axholm. But in my library game, he's alive and well, and he has some dark connections with some very unscrupulous folk. And so when the players went to talk with him, the rogue snuck away into his house and was looking around. And when he went over to, or when she went over to this painting on the wall of him standing in front of like a prestigious college, she's like, you know what? I want to take it off the wall. And I was like, okay. As you try to take it off, you realize it's on hinges and there's a safe behind it.
Ooh.
And
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, what's the numbers? And I'm like, it doesn't have numbers. It has strange eldritch and arcane symbols. So this idea of the enchanted craft that could animate it could very much animate that painting and be like, hey, have you ever heard of what he said when he's been around you? And like, do you know what the combination of this particular safe is? And something like that would just be really sick.
Or you need a distraction. You just like, there's a horse statue in the middle of the town square, and you just hook.
Oh my
and now
God, yes.
now there's like a metallic horse running around while you get to break into the safe or whatever you got to do.
That reminds me of the D&D movie when the big bad animated the stone dragon at the end. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. He blew up a liquor cabinet. Yeah, that's how he did that, Stacy. Harbin Wester had a liquor cabinet in his office, and he shoved that in front of the door and pulled it down and lit a match and threw it to the floor, and just everything went up. That's how he did it. Not sure we ever learned that. Well, you guys learned that there was a fire. There was an explosion. That was it. But hey, there you go. Behind the scenes, he died a hero.
It's not the Harbin Wester I knew, but I'm about to. There's going to be 2 new versions of Harbin Wester in my game. So
I love Harbin. He's so good. I love they actually just put out new art of him too, and it is so far removed from what I always imagined him as. Let me see if I can find.
I gotta see it. Yeah, I gotta see this. Well, because in Dragon of Icespire Peak, you might not see him because he's hiding in his house the whole time.
That's true.
He
That's true.
sneaks out. No, that's pretty close to what.
Yep.
That's pretty close to what I would think he looks like.
Yeah. See, for me, I like it was very close to it. I always imagined him as considerably older. Was what my mind was, where he like had a white mustache and stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna put it up here on the street. There we go. We got Harbin Wester there for everyone to see at home. But yeah, I've always loved Harbin just because he's such a powerful character within the space of Phandalin, and you can play him in so many different ways, and I've loved playing him as a goof, and it's so vastly different playing him now, where it's like my players don't know if they can even trust him, because he's sent word to Neverwinter for money and aid, and then they find notes in his office that say like, hey, we've already sent you enough money that you should have this covered, like we can't send you more money. And the town's like, yeah, we're still waiting on some of this money to show up. And it's like, well, where's all this money going? How is is he doing something with it? And it's kind of that shrug of the shoulder. So yeah, I'm liking what we have here, and I think from this can probably build into more of the adventure, because I think what we have now is pretty set for having a player jumping in and giving us that opportunity, because Family of Light and Color is what I'm looking at, and I'm trying to think of the best way to tie this in with Lost Mine as potentially I'm thinking possibly like a full extra building there in Phandalin.
Well, there's a lot of unmarked things on the map.
Yeah,
you could. Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe there is there's an art studio there in Phandalin, set up by some other members of the guild, one of them being Rodrigo Martez, where he's out there loving the countryside, doing his thing, can be found. And beautiful thing about this, you can have Rodrigo show up anywhere. Like that to me would be the cool thing with this character, is having this NPC, the players are traveling to from Nomengard down, or my mind's like on Icespire Peak, but like if they're traveling from
same town, baby.
It is, yeah. But if they're like traveling up to Agatha's, up to Agatha and like Conaberry, and they're resting for the night, it's likely that they just, hey, there he is. He's out there in a field painting trees, or they're over at Thunder Tree, and he's like sitting up on one of the ruins and has this like grand scope of the entire area, and it's just like painting it. And when the players arrive, he just gives them a wave, sitting up there precariously perched. That's an awesome way. And have him, he could be somebody that like you said, you can replace Darren with him and have him be that that figure who's maybe just kind of out there, you know, living his retired life.
One of my like secret DM powers, I think, or like self-made DM things, to make random encounters good and interesting, because it's like, okay, you're going from Phandalin to Agatha's, what is it, Coneyberry.
Coneyberry, yeah.
It's gonna take you 2 days, 3 days. Nothing happens because it would be boring if it did. But like, you are wandering through this like fantasy wilderness situation for days and nothing happens. It's boring.
Yeah.
Like, no, random encounters are likely, but it's not always just going to be, oh, orcs fight. Here's a combat that's going to eat up an hour of game time that doesn't mean anything. It's like, no, you could run into orcs, but you could also run into freaking Rodigo, and like, you love Bob Ross, and he knows he might know something. He might,
Absolutely.
you know, he might have a painting for you, right? Absolutely. They would love that.
Well, and that's very much the same thing that I've done. Like, I don't mind combat encounter. Pugsley, yeah, that was a random encounter I did. I anytime that I do combat encounters, I always try and have them have some kind of narrative weight. And a big one that comes to mind with that is in the Icewind Dale campaign I ran. The players came across orcs attacking a wagon. They found dead citizens with it, and through the information they found out that this was a family that had been living up near the town of Lonelywood, who was trying to escape and leave Icewind Dale because of the perpetual winter, but they got attacked, and it was through them that my one player was able to save their cat. He was able to resurrect their cat, and it was because it was a stuffed cat that had the soul of one of their children in it, because the mother was a sorcerer, and one of their children had died, and she bound its soul before it left the body into this toy. And so they were able to kind of bring that back, and like that really never got resolved, but it's like that's ingrained into that adventure. And yeah, Pugsley in the Phandalin 5, that was one that that Stacy loved, because he's just a little pug person who's out there peddling his wares, and he's absolutely adorable. And the thing is that he doesn't fully understand commerce. Where his whole thing is that he's basically just out there with a bunch of random goods, and most people don't have the or aren't evil enough to steal from him. And anytime that he's like, let's trade, they just kind of give him stuff, because he doesn't want to take money, because he doesn't understand like the concept of, again, trade. But people just give him things. So they give him gifts, he gives them gifts, and he loves riddles. And if you can answer a riddle, he'll give you a prize, but it's always some weird little tchotchke trinket, like a compass that points to a random place. It's not north, it just points to somewhere. Or something that could come in handy, a tea kettle that when you speak a command word heats up the water inside. So like, it's these little things, and I loved Pugsley, and he was a great little thing. But the one from Phandalin 5 that I actually remember the most, and it funny enough, you said the trip from Phandalin to Coneyberry was a wizard or mage. It was never actually expressly said who he was. When the players were traveling to help what's his Butterskull Ranch, Big Al Calazorn, at the Butterskull Ranch, they ran into this random wizard who went by like a bunch of different names. They got the names like Yusef and Geralt, Gerald, Jerry Grickor, all these different names, but he just appeared out of nowhere, was like running from something, and it came from a book of random encounters, and it was like a wizard is running from something and runs past the party, and I was like, okay, what is this? And so I played out the scene, and he stops and he's like, hey, do you want to play a game? And they're like, sure. He's like, draw a card from this deck.
Oh.
And my players drew one card, and obviously it was the deck of many, and it was the one that gave them a slew of magic, or well, it wasn't a slew of magic items, it was a slew of gems, and it was like 10,000 gold worth of gemstones or something like that. And so the party has not really been want for money. Here it is: 25 pieces of jewelry worth 2,000 gold, or 50 gems worth 1,000 gold a piece.
That's and they rolled for that, or you decided that you put your thumb on the scale, or they got that?
That was what they rolled for. That was what they rolled for. I let
that can go a lot of different ways. That can go a lot of different ways. You're a brave man.
So,
never pulled that out. Never pulled.
Yeah.
I looked at it quite a few times, and
I was very young in that campaign. It was like a handful of sessions, and I was like, let's do it. Let's see what happens. But it was that moment that I decided this is a high enough level wizard, because I had already decided I was going to tie some of that campaign into the Rise of Tiamat. And so I was like, this is where I get the party involved in it. And I had him use the Unseen Servant and Illusory Magic to place a black dragon egg into the bag of the cleric. And so it was during that whole thing, he was planting that egg, and then the moment they drew the card, he just bolted. And it was
smart man.
Yeah, and it was after that the party was like, out there adventuring. I added the egg to the player's inventory, and the next time that he was going through his bag, I was like, oh, you noticed something. And I showed him a picture, and it has become this thing that has like followed the party. It's they have this egg, they don't know exactly what to do with it. There's a way to destroy it, but they don't have like enough power to do it. And it's also wanted by the Black Dragon cult, because they have learned through the adventure that it is the vessel for which the ancient Black Dragon is going to be birthed into. So I like loose threads too sometimes, because it's like, oh, we met that random wizard, he had the deck of many things. I'm not going to forget about that, because that's why we're rich now. And then like, you don't know that night, but like you figure out the next day, or like as you're trying to go to sleep, but your mind's going a mile a minute because you've been making up improv comedy and doing complex math, and now it's time for bed. But players don't realize the DM galaxy mind that happens some nights. But the cool part about something like that, especially if it's on a random encounter table, is like, I didn't know that wizard was going to show up in that moment, and I definitely didn't know that wizard was like the gateway to right Tiamat if they just like poked him a little bit. But like, that's what happens, and like that brings me a ton of joy, and that's how I run a lot of things to keep it sandboxy. Is like, the common wisdom is like, you need to prepare 3 times as much stuff. It's like, you don't need to prepare it, you just need to be prepared for it. You just need to be prepared to prepare it. So like, having like, when you're talking about Pugsley, I have this I have Penny, this little like hedge wizard, because I like the idea of like low magic. Like, this village has a wizard who can like cast 3 spells, but like, that's incredible to them. And she sells healing potions. I've actually folded her into, I forget what it is, but like that level 1 adventure in Dragon of Icespire Peak where the Manticore's at the tower. I forget her name. In Dragon of Icespire Peak, one of the first 3 missions, it's like the closest one on the map. So it's like probably the one that you're going to, and it's a Manticore. God, my mind.
That's like, teach the players that not every fight is beetle. Umbrage Hill, thank you. Yes.
Abergwyn. Yep, the fight with the Manticore.
So yeah, her name, I don't know her name because I replaced her with Penny, and now Penny is on the random encounter table.
Oh,
So
okay.
and there's a nested table of like what does Penny have in stock in any given day. So my
Gotcha.
players met her. She actually had some like expensive stuff, and they were I think they were level 2, and like they couldn't afford it. And and so they tried to haggle, which of course they will. So she sends
Yep.
them. She's like, there's a wizard's tower up the way that has been abandoned, as far as anybody knows, for like 80 years, 100 years, and like, I just moved in with my girlfriend. We're looking for a little more room, so if you could, clear that out, all of this is yours.
Oh yeah.
So she got the better end of that bargain, but they were on their way to do something else, and then that night they went to that wizard's tower that I had ready.
That's awesome.
And that became the whole thing. And now Penny's their friend, and like, I mean, that was a couple campaigns ago, but that she became like a recurring character because they rolled a 9 that night.
Right.
And things went a totally different way.
Did we
Didn't we
sell the
sell her?
basilisk egg?
She did. She bought the basilisk egg just to take it out of your hands. Basically,
Oh,
that was like a
she
public
gave them the
service. She didn't
basilisk egg.
want it. They got a basilisk egg out of the. Both of these adventures are actually on DM's Guild, and you can
Oh,
download the
nice.
sample. I put all my stuff in the sample, so you can download the whole thing. It says sample on it. But if you want to give me money, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
put it on the Kickstarter, not the DM's Guild today. But yeah, the first adventure, it's kind of a mean thing to do, I think. But if you're buying a level 1 adventure from your Dungeon Masters Guild, you're not a new Dungeon Master.
Yeah,
But
very much
the
so.
the I put a baby basilisk at the end, and it's all the, oh man, I just forgot their names. I got Grung in my head, but there's like these CR 1/8 Grimlocks.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
I had never used Grimlocks. They felt like such good flavor, but like you're never in the Underdark when
Nope.
you want them involved, right? Like Underdark is higher level, so you'll never cross paths with them. So like the thing about Grimlocks is they don't really do much, but they're blind.
Yeah.
So they have a basilisk because they're like not affected by it at all.
Smart.
And then I gave, because I don't know, I think the egg is in there, and there's a sidebar in like the adventure that I published. I think there's a sidebar like, maybe give this to your players, maybe don't. Who knows what happens.
Lucas, I can hardly hear you. Aaron, well, I should be good, buddy. We'll maybe turn me up just a hair.
Yeah, maybe I'm yelling too much.
No, you're fine. That's I can hear you just fine.
I can hear
there
you.
Was funny you mentioned a basilisk egg, because I just put one of those in my own adventure in the library. The players went back to Nomengard, and I wanted something to happen there, and so I threw basilisk into it, and there was a bunch of the gnomes there that got petrified, and so the basilisk egg, there was if the players decided that they were going to harvest the basilisk to get their gullets so they could create the potions to unpetrify everybody, but there wasn't enough to do everyone. But there was a basilisk egg there. So they were like, here. So they found the basilisk egg, and the paladin wanted to keep it because he has blind sight. And so he's like, how cool is it that I could fight alongside a basilisk if I train it? And so he wanted this, but when they found out that like they didn't have enough to unpetrify everyone, and it came down to the other king or the it was the other king, or it was going to be the inventor, this crazy inventor named Factor, and they need Factor's help in fighting back the dragon and creating things to actually kill the dragon, but obviously they need the king. They want the other king. So it became this big like this big kind of like moral quandary of who do we leave petrified for however long while we wait for this basilisk egg to crack, and so that we can then kill a baby and extract its gullet. And it's like, oh man, like this isn't what I expected, but you know what, it is gonna work. So
the old moral quandary.
Yeah, and it's also funny. You replace the Dabber Gwen. She became a very she became like a very influential character in my Fanland 5 campaign because when the party met her, they killed the Manticore. And they went off, they did their own thing, and then Stacy's character went back sometime after, like a day that night or something, and she performed a ritual on the Manticore's body to kind of like bury it and cover it up because she was a ranger, so she had some druid craft with the help of Adabra. And they went back there, oh yeah, that's right, to learn about potions, and then they went back there later and found out that the whole place was messed up. Adabra was missing, and there were scratch marks across the ground indicative of a Manticore. And so they're like, shit, there's another Manticore. And so they went on a whole adventure of hiring a hunter named Asdalor, tracking across the plains to find where the Manticore to find out where the Manticore nested. They then went up through this mountain where they met a clan of goblins that that worshipped the Manticore, and the leader of those goblins eventually became one of the party members. And they rescued Adabra. She was sent to Neverwinter to rest and recuperate. But on the way back, oh my god, that is an adorable little dog.
This is Dolly. She wants to go outside, but we can't.
Oh no,
I'm busy. Yeah.
That's a
Dolly won't let me exploit her reviews very often.
I love the little tongue.
Oh, perpetual permaderp.
Yeah. So the goblins that were traveling with the party, the hunter had them carrying the Manticore body back because he wanted the meat from it. Well, the dragon smelled the blood and came down and froze the Manticore, killing all but 2 of the goblins. One was named Iggy, and he became a wizard because he stole a hat of wizardry and it burned onto his head.
Perfect.
Yeah, so he's been with the party ever since. He's died twice. He recently got resurrected as a warlock. And the other one who survived was named Lucas, because they were all named after the real players in our campaign. And Lucas the Goblin was the one that survived. He became the white worm speaker for the white dragon in Dragonfly Spire Peak, because the dragon found him. It thought he was a kobold because he wore a kobold outfit, because I found a picture of a goblin in a kobold outfit, and it was like, oh, he thinks it's a kobold, so he's gonna obviously pick him up and take him back to his lair. And the rest of the other kobolds were like, we don't want to tell the dragon you're not a kobold because we don't want to get killed. And so this goblin was like, hey, okay, cool. And then he found the white worm speaker mask, and it granted him the intelligence. So he became a big bad in the party, in the adventure.
I love that.
And all of that was because at one point they were like, hey, let's kill the Manticore. And then when they went back to that place, I was like, I don't want it to just be that everything's fine. So I didn't know what it was going to turn into. I was like, oh, there's Manticore claw marks across the ground and she's gone. And it evolved into what became like a cornerstone of the campaign. And when you said about like that moment when you're sitting in bed at night as a DM and your mind is just going, that is exactly what I had for like 3 days after that. I'm like, how is this going to culminate into something?
What are the consequences? That's like I'm going to make this video very soon. Like the best pitch for being a game master instead of a player is that game masters play D&D way more. And it's not only because it's very easy to find players and hard to find game masters sometimes, but like I am always playing D&D. That's the secret. Like,
Yeah.
you're like the Incredible Hulk. You are always like, the wheels are turning. Like, okay, this happened. So what does that mean? Like, the wheels are always spinning in the background. If you're doing it right, right? Like, the world isn't static. Things are happening off screen. It's tangent, but do you use cutscenes? I find this is like the most, like, the polarizing of game master opinions, or one of them, I guess. But like, do
I
you ever use cutscenes? Because I
I
don't, and I am open to it, I guess, but I never I don't think I ever have.
I don't use cutscenes. I don't use cutscenes in the way that I think other people do. There will be moments where I kind of like elaborate more, and I do go on to really set a scene, but I try to keep them only in very specific moments.
Yeah, well, so like a cutscene, do you ever? It can mean different things, right? So I'm
Sure.
talking about like off camera, right? Like, do you ever give the players information that they have not, that their characters wouldn't have had? And not just like, I'll do that with like knowledge of like, oh, your character will probably know this about this person or like this monster or something. But just like, do you ever show the bad guy's machinations as like the lead into the campaign or something?
I see what you're saying.
Because people do, and it doesn't feel right to me.
I
But I've had
don't.
like several conversations on Reddit of like people defending the act.
Yeah, so you're saying in like lieu of, you know, the adventuring party has just learned that Gargamesh the Wicked is the one behind this, and so you kind of like pan the camera out and it like zooms in on a like wizard's tower, and you see, you know, Gargamesh there, you know, with the map of the region, like cackling to himself. I would not do that.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I wouldn't do that, mostly because I already have a bit of a tricky time managing what do my players know in game and what do they know out of game, and also different characters sometimes know different things. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you so much, Sir Carpenter, with the sub. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. Prime, give me Jeff Bezos's money. That's the money that I want.
We're going to space, baby.
That's right. I want those Bezos bucks. Yeah, I don't normally do that because I feel that it would break some of the immersion.
Right, I feel the same way. It's a little
Yeah.
video gamey, like, yeah. Because
Now-
like, I've had people convince, like, not, I've had people arguing convincingly that it's like very cinematic. You can do a lot with it, and I can see it as like a storytelling device. But like, one, I mean, I think you were inching up to like the metagaming conversation, which is
Yeah.
also something. But two, yeah, it breaks immersion for me to be like, oh, you know this, but your character doesn't. Like, there's enough of that built in with like, you know this happened because you rolled those snake eyes, right? But like, beyond that, like, yeah, I've never done that, and I don't think I will. But that's polarizing.
I definitely don't do it like that. Now, I try to, if I have the foresight, to introduce like what in my mind I call cinematics, where
right, which is different. Yeah. I'm all for that. Yeah,
because that's it. I just ran a one shot with the Fanlin 5 group this past Sunday, because we had two of our players out, so we ran one of the adventures from the Adventure a Week mini dungeon tome. It was Plight of the Winter Winds, and I had in that where I wrote out in more storytelling script of like, you know, imagine, if you will, the camera of your mind's eye, you know, seeing first an icy fortress and
the drone shot coming
exactly
in.
like picture the camera descending swiftly down the mountainside, because I think it was Abria Iyengar is a masterful DM on Dimension 20 and on Critical Role. She's been a player and a DM. She is very much in that same mindset of like cinematics and tying in what you would imagine from like movies, because that's something anybody can relate to. You know, you think of Lord of the Rings and like the Battle of Helm's Deep, and your mind isn't necessarily drawn to that one elf that's like standing on the blockade, or you know, the pylons. It's that droning shot where you're seeing all the orcs standing ready to attack, and you can see all the elves with their bows drawn, and then the camera turns and pans up to the mountain. You see the riders of Rohan up on the hill, and it's like, that's the stuff that I love. And beyond that, it's like I don't think I could ever do it where I imparted knowledge beyond what the characters would know.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I'm also looking at this because I mean, yeah, I love tangents. I saw that you have here on Plot Hooks, Story Seeds, and Adventures idea. Obtain rare materials for an art competition with incredibly high stakes. That is 100% just playing into the desire of obtaining those unusual and rare materials.
Maybe that's how you get that glaze, because I'm not giving you that at level 1. That's too powerful. You got to get a bunch of components first.
But what are the stakes? Number 10. An otherworldly judge demands proof this culture produces worthy art and deserves to continue.
There's a bunch of little winks and nods, and that is show me what you got.
Yes. I when I saw that, I was like, my whole thought process was that episode of Rick and Morty. Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah, there's definitely some it's called inspiration if you are artistic about it. It's not theft, it's inspiration.
Right. It's always, you know, true artists always steal. That's what it is. Well, see, the funny thing is you could really play into the Shattered Obelisk with this in a way, like an otherworldly judge demanding proof that, like, could you present the big bads of Shattered Obelisk with an art form that is enticing enough for them to stop what they're doing?
Right. Like, show me you're more valuable, not subjugated.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah,
I mean, like, I've been thinking about Planescape a little bit the last couple of days too.
Yeah.
That just dropped, and there's all sorts of weird, like, there's a bunch of like celestial things in the monster manual that you're never gonna fight. Like, you maybe use them as a messenger or something, but like, hey, this lawful good thing comes down, and like, have you been lawful good the whole time you've been playing this campaign? I don't know. And now they're asking for proof of, you know, some form of, like, are you divine enough? Are you good enough? Right? Prove it to me through beauty.
Exactly.
And this is a CR14, whatever, Empyrean, whatever the hell he is. Like, you can't touch this thing.
That's it. Like, it's like if you come to Sigil and we put you in a place that like only good creatures can go, will you burn? Like, you know, does your skin ripple when you walk into this church? Stuff like that. I love that stuff. Yeah, so I'm thinking with this character, you know, tying Reyna into Lost Mines. There's a part of me that feels like the whole thing of an otherworldly judge. If we look at the Red Brand Ruffians, the Nothic is able to project ideas into the mines. Could you pose the Nothic in this way of reflavor the Red Brands as kind of like these, you know, one of these antagonistic organizations of like art snobs, of like, you know, members of the Order of Purity, where there's too much color, and so, you know, or what else do we got? Because I was looking through these. Iconoclastics, a cult who believes only gods can create beauty and so destroy artwork. You know, you could almost add them in and have that be like an underlying thing, because in my opinion, the Red Brands, beyond like working for the big bad of Lost Mine, I never really felt like they were that, you know, they're not expanded upon.
There's not a lot of depth. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's why this was the thing I said about like making too, is like this, you're never going to be like, oh, there's too much depth to this on the Dungeon Master side. On the player side, like, okay, maybe like this is too much lore and it's not relevant, but like I've tried very hard to make this all gameable content, right? There's no roll table for like the pantheon and the creation myth and all that. So this is like stuff that's going to come up that the players are going to interact with. But like, yeah, there's bandits here. Okay, cool. But like, what makes them different than any other bandit? And like, why they're just okay? They're in town, but like, this is a small frontier town. How long until they run out of people to rob? Like,
exactly.
Doing,
you know, like, how adventures. I mean, in D&D and in these in these fantasy worlds, being an adventurer is a job. So there's going to be a point where adventurers are going to show up and the town master is going to be like, hey, there's these guys that keep bullying us. Can you stop them? And you're eventually going to get, like, in one of the campaigns I ran, where it's an entire platoon, or it's an entire platoon of Pelor worshippers that have come to spread the word of Pelor, led by their Pelorian paladin leader, Sir Bradford, who's like walking up into the Red Brand mansion and is like, you are evil and I will destroy you, and just like wiping them out. I think giving them a little bit of depth would definitely work. And, you know, as a DM, you could say, okay, cool, like, they are this, you know, because I did just pull Bella Nocturne. Weaving enchantment magic into her work is the key to her success. Like, that could, you know, I like that, because that has the idea of, like, you look at a painting or you look at a sculpture and it's mesmerizing and it makes you do things.
Ooh, that's an interesting take.
Yeah, like that's where I was leaning into that, because I'm thinking, like, there is the painting in the mansion made by Bella Nocturne. The Nothic there is essentially using them as a means for, you know, for what it wants, and having them be these, you know, they came here to Phandalin.
I will be right back. Now he's freaking out about something.
You're good. Go do your thing.
She does not do that. BRB.
Yeah. I like this iconoclast. Evocative locations. Come on. This is it. The Divine Gallery. A secluded temple adorned with prophetic frescoes that change over time. That's literally the thing that needs to be judged. Oh, that would be such a cool battlefield. Oh, such a cool battlefield. Thematic monsters. The graffiti. Oh shit, the graffiti gargoyle. Oh man. That would 100% play into the enchanted craft. Yes. Also, Marble Guardians. Grabbing that as well. Yes. Tell you what, my audio levels are all over the place tonight. All right, welcome back.
That was wild. Dolly's acting like someone's breaking into the house or something, and it's like,
oh, so sweet. Is she a Chihuahua?
She's a Chihuahua.
Oh
She
my
might.
God.
She's adopted, so we're not 100%. But if she was anything else, she'd be larger.
She looks so cute. Yeah. So, did I turn the music up? It may have. Oh, you know what? I think the music's messing up. I think Kenku FM is messing up. But you know what? When you walked away, I looked at the evocative locations and monsters, and I'll tell you what, like my mind kind of went with with this particular character, what could end up being something. But for one, the graffiti gargoyle, what would like my mind went with the ruffians have the enchanted craft, and
Ooh.
that is something that they use. Like you could have like these gargoyles on the top of the manor, and then have the ruffians like painting over it, and that whenever they go up they attack, and have things within it, and let that be something that can be nabbed by somebody in that adventure. But also the Divine Gallery, a secluded temple adorned with prophetic frescoes that change over time. That has to be the whole plot point of an otherworldly judge. Like
100%.
Yeah, like you have crafted this work, you have created your art, and now, like through the adventure, because I could see this being something stumbled upon. You know, possibly having the knowledge of this be located somewhere around Phandalin. Have the family of light and color be... Oh shit, actually my mind just went another way with the family of light and color. Have there be a party in Phandalin that was supposed to go down, but because of the dragon, you just have this guild of painters hanging out at the tavern for a few days.
The festival's been canceled. They were gonna have like a street art fair or something.
Yeah, and
Beautify Phandalin gets shut down.
Oh yeah, that would be a good way to kind of play it up, because if the ruffians are there causing problems, then you might have the family of light and color know about them, and maybe they're like rogue agents from that faction, and they're like, hey, let's go there, let's try to help them, and you know, letting the adventurers play that role of, hey, this is something that you can help us with. Because honestly, you could introduce that faction a few sessions in. You know, maybe they show up a few days later and it's like, hey, you know, these ruffians, right? Like, maybe you should handle them. Oh.
And the reason I like factions, like if the Red Brands, you know, it's kind of in there. Like it turns out secretly the Red Brands are working for the Black Spider, but like for money, you don't really know why.
Yeah.
And they're not like connected. But when you clear out the bandits at level 2, but it turns out they were part of a larger organization that now has your number at level 4, level 5, and is sending higher CR things after you. And now it's all connected. There's consequences to your actions. It's not just like a bunch of random events happening. You're creating that's how you make narrative, basically, right? Like you're connecting these things together.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, yeah, these like the iconoclastics hired the Red Brands to like just like kind of tear shit up, because it's like the Boondocks, right? And like the big wigs are over in Waterdeep or Neverwinter, But
Yeah.
when you take out the red brands, now they're okay. Now you're on their radar.
Another thing that came to mind is one connection that you could tie is if you have the leader of the Iconoclastics being Bella Thorne, who maybe wants to like take over Phandalin or even some other area. If the mine is back up and running and access to it is there, the Forge of Spells could be used to make like the furl of a paintbrush. And for
because
it
that's a big unanswered question that they leave you with. Yeah.
God, I've looked through so many different like resources of like what has gone on at this place, over the years, and it's like there's not a lot, but like the fact that you have the different weapons there, you have the magic items, there could be something there that she is wanting. She has made a deal with the spider and is like, hey, you get me what I need, I'll get you what you need, because it could very much be that the mine might have some rare materials within that spell forge that can be used to create these otherworldly paintings, because it's possible Bella Nocturne might know that there is an otherworldly being that's gonna judge some art, and she might want to be the one to present it.
Wow. I like that a lot. Because now you have like whatever best supporting villain.
Yeah.
Having the same exact goals as one of the heroes, right? Like you're both looking for the same resource, right?
Yep.
And this person's a jerk. That's enough to like make them an enemy out of the gate. So, and
like
then to have, well, you never actually stopped and asked her why she was looking for this magic item that you also wanted.
Right.
And now that she's out of the picture and you have it, now it's up to you. I don't know, it's a skill challenge, but here comes the big head out of the sky, and it's time to, and that big head looks more like Cthulhu.
Oh my
It's
God,
time.
yeah. Just, oh my God. It would be a Cthulhu head, but all the tendrils are like paintbrushes and pens and art supplies. And it has to have a giant afro. Like that's the point where like if I was running that, it would be like so serious and so like matter-of-factly until we got to that scene where it's like this otherworldly being is Cthulhu with the tentacles are streams of paint and it has a giant afro, and that would be it.
Because that's like the madness aspect of it. I really like that they went with this like cosmic horror vibe, because it's very hard to take D&D to higher levels without shifting tone. It doesn't feel right. It goes off the rails pretty quick, even at like level 7, level 8, let alone whatever 12, 13, 14. So like something else has to come around. It can't, you run out of goblins. There's something from somewhere else that's like, and like having that thing be incomprehensible, and by adding humor to it, and like, oh no, you're not going to take this thing seriously at all, and it just owns you, right? Hypnotic pattern on everybody, right? You're having flashbacks to your childhood. And that's gonna eat your brains if you don't paint good. Come on.
You just said something that gave me an idea for this character's backstory. What if it wasn't a band of murder hobos? What if it was the appearance of this otherworldly being into the material plane that caused a hypnotic pattern in an area localized where Reyna was, and it was that like literally broke the mind of her family.
I don't remember, because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of entries here, but I don't remember where I put it. But one thing that's somewhere in this book that I was in love with is this idea that like there's this festival that's been going on in town for like forever, right? It's this holiday celebration, and we already have that built in with like the artist party. And they've been doing it forever, and like something comes up, right? The White Dragon's in town, and they cancel the festival. But what has been lost to living memory is that festival is actually some sort of ritual that's been XYZ,
Oh,
keeping the seal closed. So if like you come out and you beautify this town every whatever summer solstice, that prevents these things from like coming by, because like yeah, you're keeping up appearances. Like oh yeah, that's check for this year, and that doesn't happen because of whatever the
right.
cryovane or whatever else your tier 1 threat is. And now here comes your tier 2 threat because of the tier 1 actions and events.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
that 100% could be what is the that could be like this carrying after Lost Mines of Phandelver. What if the family of Light and Color was there for that ritual? It's a
Mm-hmm.
festival, but it's a ritual because every however many years there is this ancient powerful entity out there that collects beauty and art, and they travel from plane to plane and planet to planet, and they they desire some beauty and some transcendent art, and it's like them coming to the material plane however many years ago when Reyna was a child was when she got hit by that hypnotic pattern or prismatic spray. And then however many years later, she finds herself in Phandalin, going there because there is going to be this festival. I mean, you could honestly call it the Festival of Light and Color, and have the family of that be this traveling guild of painters that goes there to create this display of art. But secretly, the main reason is like you said, this is a ritual, because through this celebration you create the art, and then somewhere on one of the mountains nearby, could be like Icespire Peak, it could be over north of Nomengard, or wherever, the entity appears and you have to present it. And it's like, I'm thinking, I don't know, do you remember the Pokemon? Do you ever play Pokemon?
No, I missed that wave. I was
Okay.
like just too old, but like too young to not care that being too old is stupid. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it was, I think, Generation 3, or I think it was 3 or 4. They introduced a Pokemon named Arceus, who is the god of Pokemon. And to get to him, it was a special event, and you had to go to this, like, I think it was called like the Pillar of Light or something, but the event starts with you walking up this like celestial staircase. And that's what I have in mind of going on this adventure, having to fight against the Iconoclastics and Bella Nocturne, and realizing it is now your responsibility to craft a work of art, because the dragon is out there causing all this mayhem. The festival cannot go on. And so it's Raina Ribbit versus Bella Nocturne to create this work of art, where you then go up to the Divine Gallery, where if you do not present something good enough, the Marble Guardians will have to fight you, and only in your blood, because art is transformative and so is violence, can you prove your worth as an artist.
Dope.
So there it is.
I'd play that.
Yeah. I think that's it. Like, this is the design that, you know, if you have a character that you are, you know, you've maybe come up with an idea, a basic concept, and want to tie it into a pre-existing campaign, this is a way that you can do it. Sitting down with your DM and having an idea of what the adventure can be, and having stuff like Rodrigo Martez replacing Darren, and having him be a connecting point to the rest of the adventure, having something extra added in for your particular player with the Family of Light, and then having something that, you know, is a grandiose adventure after the fact. Because I mean, what, Lost Mines only takes you to level 5 or 6?
Four.
Yep,
Four.
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, most adventures go until level 10, 11, 12. So this might not be the world ending, you know, event that, you know, carries the adventure to level 12, but this could be something that carries you beyond the bounds of Phandalin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do this, you know, 2 or 3 more times for the other players,
Yep.
and then those like NPCs and factions and locations start to interact.
Yeah. I mean,
And yeah, you just
oh, so good. So good. I love
yeah, I like this
this.
thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna, yeah, this is gonna be my night after this. Whenever we head out, I'm gonna end up writing this up as a story. So yeah, expect that to be posted in both of the discords there.
Nice, look forward to that.
Yeah. So, but I think with that, I think this has been, you know, pretty much the best way to showcase this. You know, of how, like we said at the beginning, you know, a way to utilize the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation to build out a character. And honestly, the character was already built and there was an idea already there. And as a dungeon master, in most cases, you are going to have a player coming to your table saying, I want to play a dwarf who grew up with giants and he works the forge, or I want to play an elf who has like the soul, or believes that they have the soul of the dragon in them, and they're a Drake Warden. They have this little dragon companion, and you can take that and you can look through this compendium. You can find a background that associates with a Drake Warden. You could look at the Animal Whisperer. You could build in drives. You can build in calls to adventures and character arcs, and use this to flesh out your campaigns. This is what session zeros are for. This is the whole reason why they have them, and it's why a DM needs to have those, so they can sit down with their players and say, hey, this is, you know, this is what I plan, like, this is the adventure that we're running. You know, Lost Mines of Phandelver is this, but let's look beyond that. Let's add to it, and let's look beyond level 4 and level 5. Yeah, so good. Ryan, do you have anything more to add?
No, go download this. I mean, back it on Kickstarter. A lot of you have already. Thank you for that. I'm in a very kind of awe-inspired, grateful place this month. It's been nice to see all the support rolling in. Lucas, you've been a big part of that. You made this awesome PDF that you've been filling out this whole time. It's the first community content for the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation, and it's dope. And that is also on the Kickstarter now. Under the updates, you can download that form fillable PDF.
Yeah, if you want this PDF that has space for all the different things that you roll for, and then a nice little area for backstory and notes, that is there.
And yeah, like there's different ways to use this thing, and one of those ways is to break it apart and strip it down and use it for spare parts, and that is, you have my blessing to do that too. This is just a million ideas to figure out how to fit into your game world, and hopefully it fits in a way that your characters and your adventure feel way more significantly connected, and it's not just like disparate events that are happening. Because yeah, I mean, this Grung is now like invested in what happens,
Oh yeah.
and has an NPC and has a bunch of like fetch quests if I need to fill something, or I just need to give them another reason to go do what the other player character is more invested in. Like, oh, and there's
Yep.
also some pigment is in that place. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, this is just the good stuff for me, and I feel like this is what a lot of adventures could use. And okay, I can't build an adventure for 50 different kinds of characters, but
But
with something like this in your back
you
pocket, you can
could
make it that.
definitely, that's it. You could definitely work all of this into, into something, bits and pieces, like you said.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah.
Take it in the blessing.
So if you are interested in this, I put the link for the Kickstarter there in the chat. Go over there, support it, get your copy. There's only 61 hours left. We are down to the wire. This is crazy.
Home stretch, baby.
Also, yeah, that's it. Also, and another thing that I do want to point out, because I'll put it in here because it is the title of the Kickstarter. A lot of stuff that we talk about here is D&D. Those that watch this channel, that I'm I play D&D, but I also play Pathfinder. And I play Pathfinder on Tuesday or Wednesday nights, depending on what my group has going on. But this is system agnostic. There's nothing in here that ties specifically to D&D. There's no mechanics in here. This can be used for Pathfinder. This can be used for OSR games. This could be used for Vampire the Masquerade or Werewolf or Hunter the Reckoning. Whatever your adventures are, whatever tabletop role-playing game you're playing, you might be playing Warhammer Rogue Trader, and something in here could give you just that spark of inspiration that you need to really let the juices flow, let the creation happen, and just expand upon that. So definitely jump on this. Head over to Ryan's Discord. I'm going to post a link over there. Go say hi. Go hang out with him.
Hang out.
Yeah, great guy. Always folks over there chatting and talking. You know where my links are, right above me or down below in the About button. But I think with that, we're probably going to call it a night. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, sounds good to me. I got to go see what Dolly's freaking out about. And,
That's it. That cute little dog.
Eat some snacks and think about D&D.
Yeah. All right. Well,
this was awesome. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to do this. This was cool.
Thank you for being on here, and thank you for making such an awesome product. I can't wait to see when it's fully realized. I am looking forward to it immensely.
Awesome.
So
thanks.
All right, everybody, say goodbye to Ryan.
Later.
Good night. All right, and I'm gonna go as well. So everybody out there in the stream, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Very much appreciate it. I will see you guys Sunday night for the next episode of Rime of the Frost Maiden. I think that's what's coming up. Yeah, that's Rime of the Frost Maiden. So I'll see you guys then. Y'all have a good evening. Enjoy yourselves. Get some sleep. And I'll see you next time. Bye.